Israel, Israel, Israel. Hello everyone. In today's video, we address a recent and sensitive development. Reports have emerged and news is everywhere that Israel conducted airstrikes in Rafah. Now, this incident coincides with a significant event, the Super Bowl, which was yesterday, Sunday. Now, according to people, this was a planned move because Israel took advantage of the fact that Americans would be distracted with the Super Bowl. So what do? Be Rafah. Because Israel knew there would be less attention on their actions. Now, in this video, we are going to explore the details surrounding the airstrike and the impact this has had on the Palestinian people who are already passing through a lot of things and displacements from their homes and their land. So stay tuned as we delve into the latest updates on this situation through these videos I have compiled for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and be part of the conversation by simply sharing your views on this topic in the comment section down below. Check these videos out. I will be right back.
While people are celebrating, tweeting, sharing how Taylor Swift is able to chug beer in the Super Bowl halftime, Rafah now in Gaza is under heavy Israeli. It's 3 a.m. right now in Gaza while I'm recording this video, and people are trying to find a shelter in a place where there is no shelter, in a place that they were displaced as a last resort, in which they were told this is a safe zone. If you want to see the videos, you can go to my Instagram. It's linked to my TikTok account, and you can see how it's going right now in Rafah. This is no surprise whatsoever. Whenever Americans are preoccupied with something, Israel takes it as a cover from the media in order to go and commit other crimes. This is how Rafah was in October 15th, and this is how Rafah was a month ago. Now Rafah has 1.4 million people now evacuated and displaced. Look at the satellite images. This is how Rafah was like 2-3 months ago, and this is how Rafah is now. I am honestly lost for words. Where are these people are supposed to go? There is nowhere safe in Gaza. And just this afternoon, Biden spoke with Netanyahu about what they are planning to do in Rafah. And Biden seems not to be against the operation in Rafah. He just needs to have some insurance from Netanyahu. According to reports coming from Al-Najjar Hospital and Al-Kuwaiti Hospital that's now located in Rafah, 53 people have been reported to be killed by these strikes. What's interesting, just yesterday, Al-Sisi and some Egyptian military leaders have met in a private meeting in which they refused any Israeli involvement in Rafah. So does that mean that these strikes are in coordination with Egypt? Honestly, personally, I would not exclude that conclusion. All what we can do right now is engage, like, share, comment with any content that comes out of Gaza in order to share the message, in order to amplify it, because the international community just let the people in Gaza down. Like, we are the only ones now standing for them, and may Allah help them and make it easy for them.
A country that is defending itself does not need to pay for ads. A country that is playing the victim while they're committing suicide pays for ads.
Now at 4:45 a.m. in Palestine, Israel has decided to Rafah, knowing that all the Americans would be watching the Super Bowl and there would be less attention on their actions. If you don't know how deadly their bomb is right now, we have had this information for less than 40 minutes and 140 Palestinians, not including the people under the rubble, not including the people who are now injured and will be there. There are 1.5 million people in Rafah, and Rafah is 63 square kilometers. So there are 24,000 Palestinians per square mile. And they are just relentlessly dropping them. Men, women, and children. Knowing that majority of America is going to be distracted by the Super Bowl. I know it feels like this is happening every day, and I know it's hard to have hope right now, but please spread this information. This is insane. I don't know what else to do except for boost this. So please boost this as much as you can. This is clear as day. And anyone who tells you differently is suicidal.
The way they go from saying, don't worry, we'll make sure that we evacuate everyone from Rafah first before we invade, to Rafah like crazy today. The same day as the Super Bowl, knowing that people won't be paying attention, they'll be distracted, and over 100 people. There is no word in the world to describe this level of evil and depravity.
While you're watching your Super Bowl right now, having a great time with your family, I want you to understand that Rafah, the city in which Israel told the Palestinians to go to seek refuge, is now being. This city holds 1.5 million people and is the most densely populated area in the world right now because of the ongoing war. Once again, Israel, the terrorist organization, the IDF, has once again completely and utterly taken away all rights of the Palestinians and once again are their safe spots. There is nowhere for them to go. This was the last place for them, and it is now being. If nothing is done, Palestine will be gone, probably by next month.
Just now, the Israeli occupation launched over 50 strikes on Rafah by land, air, and sea. Rafah city is the southernmost part of the Gaza Strip, where over 1.4 million Palestinians have been displaced by Israel since October. Within the last few hours, these strikes have targeted over 14 homes and 3 mosques and several other parts of Rafah city. So far, there have been over 16 years in Rafah as a direct result of Israel's relentless. This is another escalation and expansion in Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. Over the last few days, the Israeli occupation has made it very clear that their intention is to invade Rafah. This comes specifically after Israeli occupation officers say themselves that they will not stop until they achieve total victory, which means that they will not stop until all Palestinians have erased or raided. And don't forget that Rafah city was meant to be the designated Israeli safe zone for Palestinians. A safe zone where displaced Palestinians have been made refugees again and are living under heavy and ongoing threat as we speak. Right now, we must be louder than we ever have been. We have to keep sharing these posts, have to keep putting pressure on our local governments. We must continue to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Please continue sharing videos of what is happening in Rafah and what is happening in all of Gaza and Palestine. Continue learning, continue speaking about Palestine, and continue sharing these videos. It is more important now than ever that we are doing this work. We are approaching 130 days, and the holy month of Ramadan is less than a month away.
109. That's the number of how many Palestinians were just in Rafah in the last hour. This is all happening while the Super Bowl is distracting the world from what's going on over there right now. Houses and mosques are being directly targeted, and the most horrific, literally, I thought it couldn't get worse. The most horrific images are coming out of Rafah right now, and 109 innocent civilians have been unalived, and a majority of those people are children. What people are also failing to understand is that the majority of the population of Gaza has been squeezed into Rafah, which is a tiny piece of land, over 1 million people on a piece of land that is like 19 square miles. It is literally impossible to do any kind of strike with any kind of accuracy, which means they know that they are directly targeting civilians. All I say is open your eyes, okay, and be aware of what's happening right now. We are being distracted. Okay, I understand everyone has the right to watch whatever they want, do your thing, but I am trigger warning for anyone who goes and looks at those images right now. They are, oh my God, I am so horrified.
The very second the Super Bowl started and every American is distracted and they're glued to the TV, Israel starts being Rafah. The same time that anti-Semitic ads are being run during halftime, they're being a place where they said is a safe zone for Palestinians. It's 4 a.m. there right now during the Super Bowl. Over 100 people are. Please tell me how they can possibly justify this now. There's just nothing they could say, no propaganda that can ever justify what they're doing right now. If people still try to justify this, I'm gonna lose my mind. Please go on Instagram or Twitter and look at look at the disturbing images. Look what's actually happening right now live. These people are posting it at this very moment that the Super Bowl just ended. They're posting the videos of these people being, like actual live videos, like stories. How evil do you have to be to plan an anti-Semitic advertisement during the Super Bowl, and at the very same time, while every American is distracted, you start a safe zone?
So Israel is supposed to be like small, helpless bean, but they have money to sponsor Super Bowl commercials. Super Bowl commercials propping up their propaganda so that they can continue aside. They're going to get another, 19 billion from Biden? Because they're war-torn. And again, they're such small beans. They need help. They need our help. I want to know how much an ad cost. And we know it was paid for by Israel because it says right there, sponsored by the state of Israel. And for all of you people who have no hearts and no morals and are just full throttle tied, I do have a question for you. Does it not bother you that everybody in Israel has free healthcare, while you can't even afford to get that root canal that you need? You literally have to work until you have 1 foot in the grave while everybody over there's got it made. On your dime. Oh, and don't forget to mark Israel as a dependent on your tax forms this year. I didn't have any kids, but I wound up paying for a bunch of little babies anyways.
The Super Bowl. They began their assault on Rafah during the Super Bowl. Just like they ramped up their attack on Gaza at Christmas and Thanksgiving, because the Americans are distracted. Because this has always been about America and optics. It's never been about this or keeping anybody safe. It's about land grabs. It's about a century-long project of genocide and ethnic cleansing. Rafah is currently the most densely populated place on Earth right now, on the planet. 1.7 million people displaced, crammed into a tiny corner of their home, and shot at indiscriminately during the Super Bowl. And I'm afraid to try and go to sleep, because then I might think about what I have to wake up to.
Used as misdirection. The Super Bowl is taking part in a propaganda movement. The Super Bowl is airing pro-Israeli ads. What do I need to say for people to get it? We have centuries of evidence regarding propaganda, and yet I'm still being called a conspiracy theorist for pointing stuff out that is legitimately happening in front of everybody's eyes. Like, I'm not twisting things. I'm just going, look at this happening at the same time. You think it was a coincidence that one of the only ceasefires that has been legitimately called for Gaza happened during Black Friday, when one of the most prolific boycotting stints that has ever happened transpired, and our economy was tanking so much, shout out the BDS movement, that they called a ceasefire to appease people enough to buy stuff on Black Friday. You think that was a coincidence? You think it's a coincidence that Rafah is being incensed right now during the Super Bowl, after days upon days of being calmed, and now Rafah, one of the only places that has been delineated as a safe place for Gazans to go, is being incessantly. What do I need to say? And I'm not here trying to get on you about watching the Super Bowl. That's not what this is about. It is about the West's responsibility of not just disseminating information about Gaza, but believing it. Because I can't do that for you. I can't get you to believe anything. I need you to do that. Again, the tiniest thing you could do is just understand what is happening, what is at play, what we're working with, what we're dealing with, while we sit calmly and safely inside our homes. Least we can do, guys. That is it. So as people are watching the Super Bowl, we all saw the pro-Israel ad on the Super Bowl. So they had $3 million to use on an ad, but they need more of Americans' money for weapons to unalive innocent people. Anyways, the issue is that they told Palestinians to go to Rafah. So there's like 1.5 million Palestinians, and majority are children in Rafah right now. And Israel started being Rafah during the Super Bowl. So while people are distracted by a little ball game, they are unaliving innocent people after Joe Biden literally told them that they are kind of doing an over-analyzing after talking to Joe Biden on the phone and said they're going to have a human and safe pathway for them to exit Rafah. But at 4 a.m., they started analyzing people in Rafah. Now, this is disgusting and disturbing, but I'm not that shocked because they stooped lower and they haven't started their on the boots on the ground yet, but they started being from above, a tent city basically. Now, if you guys haven't seen videos of Rafah, if you haven't seen B.0.M's videos recently, everyone is living in tents and they're destroying it. So let's call this what is supposed to be called a G-side. Now, after lying, Netanyahu is destroying Rafah before giving anyone the chance to escape. Where are they supposed to go to? Because this is a safe spot where Netanyahu said or told them to go to, and he added by saying that we'll give them a safe pathway to exit. When are they going to be given a chance to exit? But as soon as the Super Bowl started and Americans got distracted, the West got distracted, the attack on Rafah started. Now, the place where over 1.4 million refugees were herded to eat as if they were sheep. And just like I said earlier, this is where the country in the Middle East told them to go to, because they kept on telling them to go south. Go south, go south. We're not going to hurt you if you go south and you just give us the north. They all went south. Over 1 million people are in Rafah right now. That is the most southern point they can actually go to while still remaining in Gaza. And they cannot leave Gaza because that one country in the Middle East is not letting them go. It's not letting people go. But yet, as soon as the world world got distracted, the attack on Rafah started. Now, this is the heaviest B.0.M Rafah has experienced ever since the G-side started, because everybody's talking about, the halftime show artists being there, the Super Bowl, football, and anything else. This is calculated, and this was planned. Like, they always do this on purpose. Whenever there's a major event going on, when they know that the West is going to be distracted, the US specifically, because that is their brother, mother, father, whatever you want to call it. Now, they're going to do this. They did this during Thanksgiving. They did this during Black Friday, because they knew that these were the days where people were going to be distracted. And now they did this during the Super Bowl. Now, Rafah, a looming Israeli ground operation, and the impact on more than 1 million trapped civilians are top headlines. But what is Rafah, and what are the details around this announced Israeli operation? Rafah straddles the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. So on the Palestinian side, it is the name of Gaza's southernmost governorate and its capital city, as well as of the crossing into Egypt, Sinai. On the Egyptian side, it is a city in the North Sinai governorate. Now, Palestinian Rafah is 64 square kilometers, 25 square miles, and as Israel assaulted Gaza these past 4 months, more and more people have been headed into it by Israeli forces who keep promising safety further south, which never materialized. Now, approximately 1.4 million Palestinians have now been pushed into Rafah by relentless Israeli attacks that have unalived nearly 30,000 Palestinians. People are in dense clusters in the limited space, not filled with debris or being attacked by Israel. Conditions are dire with severe shortages. But Tel Aviv claims 4 Hamas brigades are present within Rafah, using their presence there to justify the ongoing attacks by air, as well as a planned land assault. Israel also claims plans for the evacuation of the city, to where is unclear, are being prepared, leaving those sheltering in Rafah paralyzed. Now, why is Egypt involved? Because the trapped civilians are pressed up against the border with Egypt. Analysts say it seems likely Israel wants to push them into Sinai. So this raises concerns over Egypt's internal security and the prospect of having more than 1 million traumatized Palestinians forced into its territory. Now, Egypt has reportedly moved 40 tanks and armored personnel carriers to the Gaza border to halt any potential spillover from an Israeli land assault. Egypt has warned that any Israeli ground assault on Rafah would have disastrous consequences, and that Israel's aim to force the Palestinians out of their land would threaten the 40-year-old Camp David peace accord between the two countries. Cairo has beefed up border security since October 7. Palestinians have faced mass displacement in the not too distant past, the Nakba. In 1948, some 750,000 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their homes and lands to make way for establishment of the State of Israel. Many in Gaza are the descendants of Nakba refugees and do not want to leave Palestine because they know it will be impossible to return. Israel won't let them. Arab countries like Egypt also object to any displacement, as the Palestinian right of return has been a main demand since 1948. Israel is already unaliving more than 100 people a day in airstrikes on Rafah. Those who survive the attacks live in unspeakable conditions in tents that fill with water whenever it rains, or under whatever scraps they find to make a shelter. Many Palestinians in Rafah have been displaced many times over and say they will not move again, no matter what. Like Jihan, who told US broadcasters PBS that she would stay in her tent, come what may. There's nowhere left to flee to, said Ajalita, Middle East and North Africa Director for the Norwegian Refugee Council. Now, satellite images obtained by Al Jazeera show an area already at breaking point. Some 22,000 people are crowded into each of Rafah's 64 square kilometers. Before the war, 275,000 people lived in those 64 square kilometers, making Rafah one of the most densely populated parts of Gaza, itself among the world's most overcrowded parts. Now, the displaced crowd into UNRWA facilities, hoping the agency that was set up to help them would be able to. But nearly 150 of UNRWA's staff were unalived in Israeli attacks. Aid is being stopped by Israel, and Western governments withdrew funding when Israel alleged, with no proof yet, that 12 UNRWA staff participated in the October 7 attack. Overcrowding has resulted in the spread of disease, with health officials reporting an outbreak of hepatitis, which flourishes in close contact. With isolating patients impossible, there's little hope of stopping this outbreak of others, like scabies and lice, worsened by a lack of showers or hygienic toilets. When the October 7 attack happened, unaliving 1,139 people in Israel, and Palestinian armed fighters took 240 140 people into Gaza as captives. Israel's declared aims were to return the captives and eradicate Hamas. Since then, the narrative has shifted back and forth. First claiming to only by targeting armed fighters, Israel soon imposed the complete starvation siege on Gaza, unaliving civilians with every passing minute. Then it became apparent when Israel said avoiding civilian casualties, it meant its secret calculus with an increased acceptable loss margin or the number of people it felt it could unalive to get to one target. It's been a lot, but this is what is currently happening. What do you have to say about this video? Share your views in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.